Hello and welcome. Today we are embarking on a journey across the Mediterranean, not to the closest shores, but from one end to the other, from the lands of Türkiye to the heart of Spain. At first glance, these two nations might seem like complete opposites. Türkiye stands as a bridge between East and West. Spain stands as the gateway between Europe and Latin America. Yet their histories are deeply intertwined, forming a complex tapestry of rivalry, diplomacy, cultural exchange, and eventually a remarkable friendship. But this relationship did not begin with cooperation. It began with one of the most powerful rivalries the Mediterranean had ever seen. For centuries, the Ottoman Empire and Habsburg Spain stood as two of the greatest superpowers of their age. Both empires sought influence over the Mediterranean Sea. Both believed they carried a civilizational mission, and both understood that control of the Mediterranean meant power. During the 16th century, this rivalry reached its peak. On one side stood the Ottoman Empire under Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent. At the height of its power, the empire stretched across the Balkans, Anatolia, the Middle East, and North Africa. Its navy dominated much of the eastern Mediterranean. On the other side stood the vast empire of Charles V, the Habsburg ruler who was both Holy Roman Emperor and King of Spain. Spain had recently completed the Reconquista and emerged as one of the most powerful kingdoms in Europe. The Mediterranean became their battleground. This conflict was not simply about territory. It was also a clash of political ambition, religious identity, and imperial power. The confrontation reached its most famous moment in the year 1571 at the Battle of Lepanto. A coalition of Christian powers, known as the Holy League, led largely by Spanish forces and supported by the papacy, confronted the Ottoman fleet in the Gulf of Patras, near western Greece. The battle was enormous. Hundreds of ships clashed in one of the largest naval battles in history. The Holy League emerged victorious and destroyed a large portion of the Ottoman fleet. In Europe, the battle was celebrated as a historic turning point, yet the reality was far more complex. Lepanto did not end Ottoman naval power. The Ottoman Empire rebuilt its fleet with remarkable speed. Only a few years later, in 1574, the Ottomans recaptured Tunisia from Spanish control. The Mediterranean conflict gradually turned into a stalemate. Both empires were powerful, but overstretched. Spain was increasingly focused on its vast new territories in the Americas. The Ottomans were dealing with conflicts to the east, particularly with Persia. Over time, the fierce rivalry began to cool. The Mediterranean was no longer the center of a massive imperial war. Instead, the two powers slowly moved toward a distant coexistence. But while their empires were competing, another extraordinary story was unfolding that would forever link the lands of Spain with the lands that would become modern Türkiye. In the year 1492, Spain experienced one of the most dramatic moments in its history. After centuries of conflict, the Reconquista was completed when the last Muslim kingdom in Iberia, Granada, fell to the Catholic monarchs Ferdinand and Isabella. In the same year, the Spanish crown issued the Alhambra Decree. This decree ordered the Jewish population of Spain to either convert to Christianity or leave the country. Hundreds of thousands of Sephardic Jews chose exile rather than conversion. They were forced to abandon homes, businesses, and communities that had existed for centuries. Many of these refugees looked eastward for safety. They found it in the Ottoman Empire. Sultan Bayezid II welcomed the Sephardic Jews and allowed them to settle across the empire, especially in cities such as Istanbul and Thessaloniki. According to a famous remark attributed to the Sultan, he reportedly mocked the decision of the Spanish monarchs, saying that by expelling the Jews, they had impoverished their own country while enriching his. The Sephardic Jews brought immense knowledge and skill with them. They introduced new trade networks, new crafts, and even helped spread printing technology throughout the Ottoman lands. They also preserved their language, Ladino, a unique blend of medieval Spanish and Hebrew that survived for centuries within Ottoman society. This migration created a cultural bridge between the two regions. Even today, the legacy of Sephardic communities remains a living connection between Spain and Türkiye. The exchanges between the two worlds did not end there. Muslims who had converted to Christianity in Spain, known as Moriscos, were later expelled as well. Many of them also sought refuge in North Africa and in territories influenced by the Ottoman Empire. At the same time, the massive flow of silver from the Spanish colonies in the Americas caused inflation across Europe. This economic ripple effect even reached the Ottoman economy. In many ways, the destinies of these two empires remained connected, even while they were rivals. By the late 18th century, the hostility had largely faded. After long negotiations, a historic agreement was signed in 1782. The Ottoman Empire and the Kingdom of Spain concluded the Treaty of Peace, Friendship, and Commerce. This treaty officially ended centuries of rivalry and established formal diplomatic and commercial relations between the two states. For the first time, the former adversaries recognized each other diplomatically and opened the door for trade and cooperation. However, the relationship remained relatively distant for many years afterward. They were no longer enemies, but they were not yet close partners either. The real transformation would come in the 20th century. The world had changed dramatically. The Ottoman Empire had disappeared and been replaced by the Republic of Türkiye. Spain had experienced political turmoil, civil war, and decades of authoritarian rule. Yet, in the midst of the Cold War, a new rapprochement began to form. In 1959, Spain under General Franco and the Republic of Türkiye signed a new treaty of friendship. Both countries were strongly anti-communist and sought new diplomatic connections beyond the traditional power blocs. This agreement reopened the door to closer relations. But the true turning point came in the 1980s. Türkiye had joined NATO in 1952 and played a strategic role in the alliance as a key member on the southeastern flank of Europe. In 1982, Spain also joined NATO. For the first time in history, these two former rivals found themselves in the same military alliance. They now shared common security goals, participated in the same command structures, and worked together in defense cooperation. They were no longer competing for control of the Mediterranean. Instead, they were partners, helping defend the stability of Europe. Spain also became one of the strongest supporters of Turkey's relationship with the European Union. After Spain joined the European Community in 1986, Spanish governments consistently supported Turkey's European aspirations. Spanish leaders argued that Türkiye was an important European partner, with a dynamic economy and a vital strategic position. This political support created a deep level of trust between Ankara and Madrid that continues today. In the 21st century, the relationship between Türkiye and Spain evolved even further. It moved beyond traditional diplomacy and entered the realm of global cooperation. In 2005, the prime ministers of the two countries launched a groundbreaking initiative known as the Alliance of Civilizations. The idea was simple but powerful. At a time when many people feared a growing divide between Western and Muslim societies, the initiative proposed the opposite vision. It argued that dialogue, cooperation, and mutual understanding could prevent conflict and build peace. Türkiye and Spain were ideal partners to lead such an effort. Both countries sit at major cultural crossroads. Both have histories shaped by interaction between different civilizations. The Alliance of Civilizations became a United Nations initiative dedicated to promoting dialogue, youth engagement, education, and cross-cultural understanding around the world. It became one of the most powerful symbols of how far Turkish-Spanish relations had come. This political trust was also reinforced through strong institutional cooperation. Beginning in 2009, Türkiye and Spain established regular intergovernmental summits where ministers from both governments meet to coordinate policies in areas such as trade, defense, energy, and culture. The results have been remarkable. Economic relations between the two countries have grown dramatically. In the early 2000s, trade between them was only a few $billions. Today, it has multiplied many times over. Spanish companies have made major investments in Türkiye, while Turkish companies are increasingly active in Spain. But the strongest proof of friendship often appears in moments of crisis. When devastating wildfires struck Türkiye in 2021, Spain quickly sent firefighting aircraft and specialized teams to help contain the disaster. Then came the devastating earthquakes of February 2023, one of the worst natural disasters in Türkiye's modern history. Spanish search and rescue teams arrived rapidly and worked tirelessly to save lives. Spain also established a field hospital in Hatay to provide medical assistance to thousands of victims. These actions created a powerful emotional bond between the people of the two nations. Today, Türkiye and Spain stand as strong allies, economic partners, and diplomatic collaborators. Their journey from rivalry to friendship is a powerful reminder that history does not have to define the future. Nations that once fought bitter wars can choose cooperation instead of conflict. From the naval battles of the 16th century to humanitarian solidarity in the 21st, the relationship between Türkiye and Spain represents one of the most remarkable transformations in international relations. Two nations on opposite sides of the Mediterranean, once rivals, now working together for stability, dialogue, and peace. It is a story of conflict, coexistence, and ultimately, friendship. And it is a reminder that even the deepest historical divides can be overcome when nations choose partnership over rivalry. Thank you for listening.